My name's Iva Williams, IVAWILLIAMS, and I'm with the Justice League. Day before yesterday, we had a sit down with the mayor of the city of Hoover, Mr. Frank Mercado, and the city's manager, Mr. Alan Wright. I apologize. And at that time, we came to somewhat of an agreement of some things that we, as some citizens and non-citizens of Hoover, would like to see. And they were very receptive to some of the things that we brought to the table. They were already in the process of doing some of these things on their own as a result of, and so it was just a really good exchange. And so at this point, we just feel like there's no further need for us necessarily to protest in the city of Hoover, but the protest will continue. Now, some of the things that we talked about with Mayor Mercado was, number one, having the mayor or the city council impanel a citizens review board. And the citizens review board should be in place just in case anything like this happens again, as well as looking at a large diaspora of different issues and needs in the city of Hoover. We're also taking it in good faith that the police department will make changes upon the final findings of the investigations by outside and independent agencies, just in case they were found to make poor procedural or ethical decisions regarding the shooting on Thanksgiving night. We've said time and time again that Captain Greg Rector came forward very forcefully and said that he was 100% sure of the shooter. We've had Chief Nick Durzis make similar comments, and we feel that if they made any procedural decisions, such as opening the mall too soon, instead of conducting a thorough investigation of the entire premises, if they said anything on national TV regarding the young man, we feel there needs to be change in the police department. We're taking it in good faith that the Hoover Police Department will go through an accreditation process. That way they can test themselves against best practices, against police forces around the whole country. And if they stack up well, then they have a lot to be proud of. If they don't stack up well, then we know they have some work to do. We take it in good faith that they're going to consider an independent review of minority complaints regarding traffic stops. We're taking it in good faith that the mayor said that he would extend clemency to those young people who were out protesting, and we feel as though it was a peaceful protest. And so that is one of the things that we are strongly fighting for. We're taking it in good faith that the city of Hoover will resume its weekly updates about what they know regarding the investigation. And if they don't have anything to report with regards to the investigation, then they should at least report how they're doing with regards to these things that we've agreed upon. We're taking it in good faith that they will hold an annual diversity summit. And we are expecting some of these young people who were involved in putting together the protest, we want those same young people involved with putting together this diversity summit. That summit should include everything from race relations to how minorities can get contracts in the city of Hoover. We're taking it in good faith that they will support our desire that Attorney General of the state of Alabama return control of the investigation back to Jefferson County, that being with our district attorney, Danny Carr, or with the Bessemer Cutoff District Attorney, Lanice Washington. Finally, should we have to return to Hoover because these things we've talked about and agreed upon are not met, if we return to Hoover, we expect for them to continue backing our First Amendment right to freedom of speech. And then finally, and most importantly, we are taking it in good faith that you, sir, will make a public apology to individuals who were hurt by the ugly and inflammatory remarks made on social media and elsewhere by individuals that would hold to the notion that racism is embraced by your administration or your city as a whole. At the end of the day, the whole reason we're here is so that African Americans, people of color, any minority will be treated fairly and justly in the city of Hoover and anywhere else in this county of Jefferson. And we expect for our district attorneys to be able to prosecute cases here and not have them elevated to the state. It's almost like we didn't have an election here in Jefferson County. But we're going to hold our end to the bargain and halt our protests in Hoover and in Hoover alone, as long as the city of Hoover continues to move forward on these things that we've asked them. Thank you.
Carlos Taylor, president of the Justice League, it's pretty simple. Mr. Williams has laid out all of our demands, what we actually met with the city of Hoover, and what they actually agreed to. As he stated, we have halted our protest only temporarily. It's not a definite thing. It's only a temporary halt and expectation that Hoover, the city of Hoover, will implement and do the things that they have promised and told us that they will do. If not, we are still prepared to protest in Hoover as we need to. We're holding Hoover accountable. We're waiting for justice. This case is about justice being served, but more importantly, we're looking for long-term plans and things to be implemented in the city of Hoover. Until then, we're redirecting our focus to where it should be. ALEA, Alabama Law Enforcement Agency, and the State Attorney General are the ones that currently hold this investigation. We will be down at the houses of ALEA's secretary, at the home of the Attorney General, Steve Marshall. We'll be at the offices of the Attorney General. We'll be at the offices of the ALEA secretary. We'll be at the local ALEA offices here at Homewood. We will be everywhere we need to and continuing protest. So when we say protesting is halting, that's only in the city of Hoover. We're not stopping protesting at all. We're just redirecting where we are protesting because we see ALEA and again the Attorney General are the ones that currently have this case, and that's where our focus is right now. We want the video to be released.
Absolutely.
That still has not been released. The family is still asking for the video to be released.
Yeah.
That is still something that we're asking for. And also, as Mr. Williams stated, this investigation to return to the hands of Jefferson County District Attorneys, it be Mr. Danny Clark or the District Attorney in the Bessemer Cutoff, Ms. Lanice Washington.
And we, Frank Matthews, before we take questions, here's the deal. Plain and simple in the words of Larry Lincoln, if you will. We're not playing about this boycott. It's having severe effects. 50% of the mall revenue has been lost. They're staffing their police, each individual, at 12 hours. And they got other municipalities that they're paying along with the sheriff. It's having paralyzing, gripping dividends to our favor. And we don't want that economy crippled because all ethnicities, black, white, are being disadvantaged, which is boycott. So be you sure, any council members that is not complicit, because our demands are somewhat shaky with some of the council members. So we sent our best negotiator out. Ivor was the best negotiator that could go to the table with Hoover, elected officials, and others. Me and the president and others, we had none of it. Because we still upset, just like EJ's father. And y'all heard him at a press conference, the last one that we had at Kellington Park. So we are nowhere in that mode to even compromise. Nothing. But we see the benefits of it. Everybody hollering about Christmas and all this time. Well, there's not a Christmas for EJ. There's not a Christmas for Molly. There's not a Christmas necessarily for the 18-year-old that was shot. So we're not all these people. Since Vice President Ivor went on television last night, all we've been inundated. Y'all are coming to your senses. Y'all are civilized and all this. Now we can have a Merry Christmas and all this. And no compassion still for this family. No apology realistically still for this family. Okay, so we are in a compromising mode because heavy betted by Ivor and bringing some duplicity to all that is going on and all that's being hurt economically. So on that vein, we offer something else. We are being criticized more by African Americans, and there are some other derivatives we want to use, even than white people. Talking about this speech and all this. So we're going to offer, on the Martin Luther King birthday, we're going to have what's called a peace and accountability march, okay? At 3 o'clock at Hoover, after they get through marching backwards, because we're contemplating having a correct march from 16th Street to City Hall. That's the original march, that they don't do it anymore. So we're planning to have for all the peace groups, the SCLC, the NAACP that came out and did a press conference and appealing to peace and all that. So we're going to give that a chance. So we want all the good black people that's criticizing us and all the good white people to join with us on Martin Luther King's birthday celebration with a peace march where we march around the Galleria. So if you're with this real peace and you're with this real accountability and that word that we don't like, let it play out, if you're really with that, show up. We have capitulated as much as we can on promises. And we know this country is about promises. Dr. King said we want to hear it now. And every time we come to the justice table, and I stand in the same spot that we launched an 8-month campaign when Bobby Frank Cherry, when Judge Gary, right in this courthouse, was accepting the fact that Bobby Frank Cherry's lawyer was saying that he had dementia without being diagnosed. So we had to take the same thing against Attorney General back in 2002 that we're taking now. So again, that's what we want to know. That's what we want to put out there as well. We're going to offer this to all those critics to say, why can't y'all march peacefully? Why? Okay, we're going to do that. So don't show up on Facebook criticizing us anymore. Don't shake our hand and praise us on Facebook because y'all doing a dirty job. This young man, myself, I, and any other person that's a part of this movement, and it is a movement. And believe me, the president will tell you when he takes questions, we're inundated with other factions that want to come in. And them boys over there, I don't know why they got all Birmingham police over there, but if this thing get out of control, they won't be over there standing watching the press conference. Now this deal is real. And y'all take it any kind of way you want to, press, and anybody else on the sound of our voice, we have something serious on our hand, and we are checking ourselves because it's our people. This is our city, Jefferson County Metropolitan Birmingham area. And we don't want it to go into the condoms of Ferguson, Baltimore, anywhere else. And those are not veiled threats. That is the reality of this thing.
So let me be clear about a couple things. One, the protesters count this as a win. We count this as a win. Why? Because there wouldn't even been a table to come to had not we invoked our First Amendment right. There would have not been a conversation had we not went out in the forefront and let it be known that there was an issue and a problem in Hoover. There would never been a conversation or a meeting with Iowa if this stuff had not been done. So let's not count it or discount it for what it is not. Let's count it for what it is. This is a win for the protesters, and this is a clear declaration to the city of Hoover. If the things that were discussed in the meeting are not implemented, I promise you, we will be back in Hoover. And it's not just us. Me and Carlos was up all night yesterday talking to our friends and comrades from Baltimore and Ferguson and California who we have been talking about this whole week that was coming down here. They are still ready to come, and we are still ready to fight. If we don't get justice, there will be no peace. Bottom line.
And just a couple of final things. As Mr. Matthews stated, just to make it clear, we're still calling for a full economic boycott on the city of Hoover. We're asking black people, all other minorities, do not spend a dime in the city of Hoover. We're going to, matter of fact, just because the protest aspect in Hoover is stopping, it gives us an opportunity to ramp up the boycott aspect in the city of Hoover. That is not stopping. We're asking everybody to join with us in not spending any dime, another cent in the city of Hoover. Furthermore, to kind of elaborate on the resources that the city of Hoover has expanded over the past month. When you look at it, the city of Hoover has called in literally departments from all over the metropolitan area of Jefferson and Shelby counties. And all those officers that come in, the city of Hoover has to pay. The city of Hoover has to pay their officers going from 8-hour shifts to 12-hour shifts every single day for the past month. The city of Hoover is responsible for the $70,000 that they had to employ the resources for a protest at Hoover High School that never even happened. We have caused the city of Hoover to lose so much money. The reason that they were able and willing to come to the table is because they are hurting as a city economically. The city of Hoover has already started tapping into their savings account to operate. That just happened back in April. Well, as of August of this year, they've announced that they have literally no money. So now we have employed them to spend even more dollars sooner than they were expecting to. So this means more to us than anything else in this entire ordeal until we get the sufficient justice that we're looking for. With that, we'll take questions from the media.
So what leads you to believe that they will do the things here that you have asked them to do?
Well, it's first off, it's in good faith. And when we go to the table, we don't go to the table just to talk. We go to the table to finalize things.
And they called us.
And so once this conversation was held, it was understood that these things would be implemented and this would come up. And so we're allowing the city of Hoover time to implement this stuff. As they said, and we understand, they are government, and government doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
And so we're allowing the city of Hoover time to implement the policy changes that they said they would. If they don't, again, we're still going at it. We're still here. But we will allow them time to implement the things that they said they would. And especially the things that could be taken care of kind of on a, not necessarily immediate, but in the short term.
How much time we're talking?
Maybe a month, if at best, for some things, maybe.
So for absolute clarity, everything on these pieces of paper was discussed with Hoover City officials, correct?
Yes.
Handed out? Okay.
I have a question. So what about the first council meeting the night after EJ was shot and killed inside the mall? You all made several demands calling for the mayor to resign, called for the police chief to resign, Greg Rector. You also asked for EJ for, I think it's Galleria Boulevard to be named after EJ. What about all of those demands that you all initially brought before us?
With regards to that first thing, I think it's in our second demand here. When we called for the resignation or the stepping down of the mayor, that was with the understanding that he had seen the video. We have since learned that neither he nor the city council have seen that video. And so, with that being said, the part of the conversation at the table was that his chief of police and his captain gave him bad information. His chief of police and his captain made him look bad on national TV, and so his police and his captain need to go. Now the mayor said that those were things that would, they're still hearsay, if you will, and they had to be investigated. But at the end of those investigations, if they made decisions that we feel were improper as far as from a procedural standpoint or immoral, unethical with regards to a young man's life, then we expect him to go. Now, as far as the EJ Boulevard, Emantic Bradford Boulevard, we found out that the road around the Galleria is private property. It's actually not owned by the city of Hoover. The city of Hoover said citizens have been complaining to them forever to have it repaved. If it was up to them, it'd be repaved by now, but that's private property. And so we can't very well ask for the city to do something they don't own. And it also speaks to why we're continuing our boycott. We feel that the Galleria made a decision to open up on Friday morning, and it was a gross decision. A young man's body was still warm on the ground from where he laid and where the blood was.
All right.
When they opened the mall. So that is why we are still continuing our boycott of the mall. We feel that the mall manager needs to go, and until that time, until such time as they make an effort to sit down at the table, then we're going to be boycotting the mall.
Have you had any conversations with any mall officials? Have you tried to initiate conversations?
I've tried to initiate, and the mall manager is not willing to talk.
Have you had any conversations with EJ's family after the decision to halt the protest in Hoover? And how do they feel about that?
Three hands that I have is and so, the family is still demanding justice. The family, and to be clear, we are not stopping protesting. That's what that is, to be clear. All right, we're redirecting our focus of the protest, and the family is aware of that, and they are in support of that.
And the family, the father, stepmother, and they reiterated to me again, over and over in this press conference, to look in this camera and tell Mr. Marshall, hold it up, Mr. Marshall, this family has zero confidence in you. If you heard the father at the last press conference, he had zero, minute, none, nada, any of those derivatives. Give this prosecution and investigation back to Jefferson County or Bessemer cut off with District Attorney Washington. Now that is the wishes, and don't give me all this Google gobbling. Yes, it's about other issues of what happened on that Thanksgiving night. But what will determine what happens in this city and in this metropolitan area, in this 8-county metropolitan area, is what happened in the case of EJ in this undisclosed police officer, as Mr. Bradford would say, that's watching every press conference that's had. Still getting paid. While we paid funeral expenses, we paid burial props, he's still getting paid, and they're elongating this investigation. Mr. Attorney General, we don't want to come to your house in Abbeville. We don't want to come to your house in Montgomery. We don't want to stand our cold nights outside your office in Montgomery. We came in Barbara Frank Cherry. We came to the Rotunda in 2000. We shut it down. We went to the Attorney General's office in 2002. We shut it down, and we stayed out here in the cold, in the wind, and the rain for 8 solid months until Barbara Frank Cherry and Brandon was found guilty of killing them 4 little girls. And we are ready to do anything necessary to ensure justice for this family and for the next black boy that won't be shot down at random because he had a gun, like hundreds, as Carol said in the AL.com, hundreds of guns was drawn. And as Attorney Crump said, why one of the other officers didn't shoot at will like this undisclosed officer?
So you all have asked that Hoover do certain things here. What have they asked of you? What does Hoover want from the Justice League?
They're hurt. The city of Hoover is hurting extremely bad. They just want the protest to stop. And so as long as they do their end and stick to their end of the bargain, then our protest in the city of Hoover will come to a halt when it comes to marching. When it comes to actual marching. But again, now we're still calling for an economic boycott on the entire city of Hoover.
No
We
more,
have always-
no more Christmas carols in Ross Bridge.
For now.
Well, I mean that
But I mean,
Christmas caroling is not protesting.
I,
So
I was
hold
joking
on, hold
about
on.
it.
I feel
I
like
wish we could get
everybody
some
is trying to get us to commit to stopping. All right? It feels like everybody's trying to get us to say we are not going to Hoover anymore, and that's not what we're saying. We're saying if they keep their word, we're not going to Hoover. We're saying if they do what's on this sheet of paper, we're not going to Hoover. We're saying that if they continue to sit at the table, then we're not going to Hoover. But they're not promising anything until they go on TV, until they call all of you and promise something. We're not promising anything. We ain't promising nothing. What we're doing is we're taking steps in good faith. All right? They said that they are going to implement these things, and we're going to give them a chance to do that. But at any point, if they do anything contrary to what's on this paper, we're going to redirect our efforts. But this whole time, we have always felt that we wanted to concentrate our protests on where it most needed to be. And at this point, Hoover can't do anything more to bring justice to this young man and to this family. But Hoover can bring a better sense of equity to all citizens, be it those who live there and those who visit. So we're going to hold them to that. But when it comes to protests, I can't wait to show up at the Attorney General's house. Personally, that is going to happen. That is absolutely going to happen.
A lot.
What are the comments from the few individuals that were arrested? How do they feel about it?
Ask them. All three of them. I mean, I ain't doing it to you.
We feel like, that was the intimidation factor. But we answered the call when they called. We bundled right back out and immediately began protesting. I mean, that's what we did. That's the answer.
And just to be clear, no Hoover City official, did any Hoover City official make threats to make more arrests if the protests continued during that meeting?
No, they didn't. And because I want to be sure that I'm clear. They had, and they have every intention, so they say, to allow us to exercise our First Amendment right to freedom of speech. And if we do come to an impasse, they have made it very clear that they plan to protect us and our protests if it comes to that again. But we hope it doesn't come to that. But we really, truly, if the things happen that we talked about happen, I think Birmingham, Hoover, Vestavia, Homewood, I think we'll all have something to look to, because we're talking about citizens review boards. We're talking about people being able to address policy and policing in their own communities. So we really feel like, out of this tragedy that can never be made up for, at least we can find some good to come from it.
I mean, look, guys, we've been saying the same thing this whole time. We're not talking about black or white. We're talking about wrong or right. All we're talking about is justice. Period. If something is being done wrong, we want to try to make it right. And the best way to make it right when it comes to municipalities is through policy. That is the point. That was the point, the initial point of the meeting. That was the conversation piece of the meeting. Changing policy and the way things are done as it pertains to African Americans and other minorities within the city of Hoover. So, I mean, justice is bottom line. It's cutting clear. It's either we get justice or we keep fighting until we get it.
The city actually offered criminal charges.
I'm sorry.
Did the city actually offer the clemency that you mentioned? Criminal charges.
Yeah, well, you said clemency, then you said criminal charges. They're not criminal charges. They're misdemeanor charges for protesting. And mind you, we have contended this entire time that it was a lawful protest. For example, the arrest of Carlos with regards to the bullhorn. They had no measurement. They had nothing there to measure his bullhorn.
Right.
So they can't say that it was a too loud disturbance of the peace. So there, when it comes to the interstate, all right, our people were driving. Somebody pulled over, had a problem, and the Hoover Police are the ones that blocked the interstate. So in all of this stuff, we have contended the entire time that we have not done anything to break the law.
They've agreed to drop those charges, or they're not going to charge anyone else in their case?
What they are saying is those disorderly conduct charges will be dismissed.
And if they're not, we're still prepared to litigate them in court.
Right.
Because they were still frivolous charges, and we're still prepared to litigate them in court, 100%. Yeah, especially when you look at disorderly conduct from whatever protest.
And that is a must again, because
it's a football team. Memphis football team.
the reason why we're sticking.
No, it's not Memphis. It's not Memphis. It's Wake Forest. Yeah. Memphis is at Memphis at the
They at Hoover.
And the reason why I've reinforced that so much for our young people that's being arrested, because this ban the box is not unilateral across the United States. So some of our young people that are being arrested and probably will be arrested, that will be on their record. So when they go to Human Resources being employed, have you ever been arrested? And they say yes. That explanation you give, they don't care about that. So we're emphatic, especially in the case of Carlos, just to use as one. When they went to Ross Bridges, Carlos and others, it was one of the coldest nights of the year. He had on a simple pair of, what is it called? Toboggan. A pair that you use to stay warm, him and others. They charge him with disorderly conduct for wearing an appropriate winter garment apparel. That's crazy.
There were terrorist threats and all this kind of stuff.
Everything.
And the thing is, and let's just be, candid, I don't want a young black person in front of a racist white person having to say that they were one of the ones protesting at the Galleria when it comes to a job interview. Mm-hmm. So those things need to be off of their record.
Absolutely.
And just to be clear with everything that we've been doing, every time we've been out protesting, there's been a team of attorneys. We've never been out just in a riotous behavior. I mean, some of the members of the media have followed us at certain points during this protest. We have tried our best to make sure that we were peaceful and above board throughout this whole ordeal.
Even when provoked.
And this is what justice looks like. This is how things are handled. You protest, you rattle up a few things, you meet at the table, you see what compromises can be done, you see what policy changes can be made, and that's how you try to make it better for the next future, next generation. And that's what we've been doing. That's the justice we always say.
And I'm big on three things: protest, policy, and polls. Protest aspect came first. They got tired of that, so they were willing to come to the table for the policy aspect. Okay, that's where we are now. Let's work through this policy aspect. If we can't, for whatever reason, get that worked out, we'll continue to protest, but at the end of the day, we're going to move toward the polls. We're going to elect those leaders out of the city of Hoover and get well-qualified people in that will make the correct policy changes. But final words is, right now, things are in the city of Hoover's hands. The ball is clearly in their court. We laid out today what they have told us in the meeting this week. Now it is up to the city of Hoover to implement those things and to make this city a better place for everybody, not just the residents, but visitors as well.
If the president is through with questioning, let me say it one more time. It would be better for District Attorney Denise Washington or Danny Carr to handle this case, because if this case goes wrong and this unnamed officer is acquitted under the hands of Steve Marshall, we are not responsible. We are not responsible. We stand at these bitter waters and we plead and we beg. If any bloodshed is shared, Mr. Marshall, I would better that it be on Danny's hands or Lanice's hands than yours, sir. And you need to think long and hard about it. Because that is the reality of where we at right now.
And that ain't a threat, that's a promise.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you all.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Hey, can I